Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Malicious Compliance Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers. We're getting close. In our first story, rude customers complain about slow service. Prepare to wait for hours. Let's jump right in. I am a waiter at one of the nicest restaurants in my hometown. I'm pretty personable and always end up striking friendly conversations with my tables. I have 1.5 million stories about people who were seemingly very friendly, but ended up stiffing me on my tips, but this is r/malicious compliance, so I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't be a jerk to your server until after you receive your food. It's a beautiful day and the restaurant is on the water. Every nice day is absolutely packed. My restaurant does not take reservations of any kind ever, so people have to go in person, request a table, leave, then come back later to eat. Normally, locals understand and expect this. There is no problem, but we are a tourist town. When newcomers try to get tables, there is always trouble. This is important in a second. Now, I am swamped. I have had my section full for the entire day and hadn't had time to go on a single 5-minute break since the start of my double shift at 10 a.m. It's now around 6 p.m. A couple lands at one of my tables in the corner, and they are already upset because they had to wait to get a table after a new girl had tried to take a reservation for them over the phone, and they had to be called back and told that they had to come in to reserve a spot. I nod to them, acknowledge that I see them, after I notice them glaring daggers at me, as if to say, "Get your butt over here now." I was dealing with a particularly crappy table at the time. Any server reading this will know the type. Every freaking time you come back, they need something else. They ask for ketchup, you bring ketchup, then once you're back, they ask for refills on drinks. You run and do that, and then they need salt, and they want to order more food, blah blah blah. Now, at this time, there are two things you need to understand. One, they had sat around waiting for a table for over an hour before being sat, and two, our restaurant has food runners. For those of you who are not familiar with this, it is a group of high school kids that, for around 6% of all tips the restaurant receives, will take care of running your food to your table for you. Now, I was also the only person that treated the food runners like human beings instead of pack mules. Because of this, my food runners were very well organized and would happily help me out when I was swamped. A food runner had gone to my table, offered them water, brought them silverware, and told them I would be over shortly. 5 minutes later, I roll up and start my speech. "Hello, my name is Gray, and welcome to the restaurant. Sorry for that wait, as you can tell, I'm really busy," and the man cuts me off. "What's your name?" he asks condescendingly. "Gray," I reply. "Gray," he starts up again. "Why is this the first time you are coming to the table? We have been here waiting for over 45 minutes. They had literally gotten there no more than 8 minutes ago and thought I hadn't noticed them walk in. "You are by far the worst waiter I have ever seen. You should have greeted us and walked us to our table." Another lie, as I saw the hostess do this like she does for every other person that eats here. Now I was already having a bad day, and I was on my second part of a double shift that I knew would go well past midnight, so I was having none of it. This guy goes on to insult my posture, my accent, my clothing, I'm wearing a flipping uniform, and a myriad of other things. At this point, I'm staring straight through him, not listening to a single word. Finally, he says, "We want another server now. You should be fired for your incompetence." I smile. He should not have asked for that. He basically just gave me the green light to flip up the rest of his evening. I'm friends with everyone in the restaurant. When I have a request, it can usually be handled almost instantly. But this time was going to be different. I walk to the hostess table and see one of my best friends, let's call her Emma, crying under the counter. Emma is a 4'6", adorable Hispanic girl who was 20 years old. She was just a tiny little thing, and she needed a step stool to address people at the front desk. She had a cabinet that she could literally sit in and take naps, and she was in there crying. I gave her a big hug and asked her what was wrong. She said a couple had chewed her out for 10 minutes straight about how terrible she was, and guess who it was? My frickin' table. I asked her if she wanted some revenge, and she said hell yes. I told her to take as long as she could. Apparently, I was not good enough and they wanted a new table. She smiled. She knew what was going to happen. I told my water buddy John that Emma was going to send him a table in an hour or so and went back to work. That couple watched 3 tables sit down, order their food, eat, pay, and leave before they even got to order. They sat and waited the entire time just to try and stick it to me. The look on their faces as I happily and efficiently took care of all my tables right in front of them was priceless. Since they were not my table anymore, I didn't visit them once. After they were moved, ate, and left, I asked the waiter that took their table how they were. He said they were very polite and patient with him. I think that will be the last time they treat waitstaff so horribly. In story number 2, the manager wants to fire me, but I ended up with a promotion instead. This story comes from when I used to work for a global big box store that may or may not start with a W. As an aside, they also aren't known for how well they treat staff either. At the time this happened, I worked in the storeroom unloading trucks and bringing stock to the floor to be stocked by the overnight crew. Our shift at that time was 3:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. Our store manager made it clear that no overtime was permitted to be worked, anything over 9 hours by company policy. This meant at the latest we had to leave by 12:30 a.m. We usually cut it close because we were chronically understaffed for various reasons. I knew this night was going to be bad the moment I arrived. We had 6 workers scheduled, yet 2 called in sick, including the shift lead. This meant that I was put in charge as I had the most experience, and the day shift managers all loved me because I worked my butt off. I then checked our delivery schedules and it showed 2 semi-trucks, both with over 2,000 items each that needed to be unloaded, in addition to another truck that was expected to have 20-plus pallets of stock. This meant we had over 4,000 items that needed to be unloaded by hand with only 4 workers to do it. In addition, we were also responsible for scanning items out of overstock bins and bringing them to the floor if the system detected an item needed to be restocked. Needless to say, the shift sucked. We didn't get our first break until almost 10 p.m., and around 7 p.m., the system dropped about 350 items that needed to be scanned out of the overstock bins, and there were almost 200 bins we would need to search for this stuff. As the shift lead, the fact we were so behind was my fault. Definitely didn't have anything to do with being overworked with unachievable time targets. So the overnight managers arrived at 10:30 p.m. and one of them went ballistic and yelled at me. Cool, whatever, I don't care. I'll just leave at 12 a.m. So here's where the compliance comes in, to a point. 12 a.m. comes around and the manager refuses to let us leave. The doors get locked with keys that only managers have and alarms are set. One of the 4 of us is a college student and has an exam at 8 a.m., so they let him go. 12:30 a.m. rolls around and we start to leave. Again, not allowed to leave by the manager. Keep in mind, overtime is not allowed, and after 12:30, we were in overtime. One of the 3 remaining of my crew has childcare issues, so they let him leave. At 1 a.m., the overnight crew goes on break and the doors are unlocked so that the manager can smoke. My only remaining crew member just walks out, and the manager lets him go without argument. I was working, so I didn't know until after the doors were re-locked. 3 a.m. rolls around, and the night crew goes for lunch. I'm fed up with manager's attitude as he's been harassing me for the last 2 hours about not being done, without offering any help. I decide that I'm going home. As I walk out the doors, the manager is standing there. Where are you going? Are you done? Nope. Still about 20 pallets to go out and about 80 overstock items to be picked from the bins. Go back and finish. You can't leave. I'm already 2.5 hours into overtime. I'm going home. Do we need to go into the office and talk about your poor attitude and lack of work ethic? I'm pretty pissed off at this point. Screw you, manager. I'm going home. Don't come back. You're fired. Have fun explaining to the store manager why you fired me. I'll be sure to tell him all about the shift tonight. I then left and went home. About 5-ish hours later, at 8 a.m., I get a phone call from the store. It's the store manager, and he wants to talk to me. Can I come in for a meeting at noon? I say sure, I'll be there. I get to the store just before noon and get escorted into the store manager's office by one of the day managers. I hear you had some overtime last night. Care to explain why? I explained everything that happened. So you left at 3 a.m.? Yes. And the manager said you were fired, correct? Yes. He isn't allowed to do that. What you told me matches what the other night manager said happened. As a result, the manager is being moved to day shift for retraining. You also are not fired. We need a new overnight stockroom lead, and I'd like to offer it to you. It comes with a $1 per hour night shift bonus and a $1 per hour raise. I'll take it. I had been trying for this position anyway. When do I start? You start tomorrow night if you want. Great. Thank you, store manager. I then went home and told my family, who were quite happy with the turnout, especially my mom, who also worked at the store and was rather pissed about what happened. This is John from /bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then please hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.